Okay, so I'm back working on the car, and I've got the new headlining out of the box, which is looking rather splendid. Speaking of boxes, Cat is rather happy to be playing with that box. He's been inside it a few times, having a good laugh. So what I'm going to do today, well, one of the first thing I'm going to have to do is cut this, because obviously that's the sunroof aperture there. And given the car's going to get paint later this year, what I'm thinking I'm going to have to do is I think I'm going to cut it so there's quite a lot of excess, fold it back, and then tack with bits of glue just to hold the excess fabric out of the way. I can get the trim back on. Ideally, what I'd be doing be gluing that excess back onto the tray. But if I do that, I won't be able to take the headlining off again, which is going to be a bit of a problem. So definitely need to think about how I'm going to cut this and then fold back and just hold in place. That'd be a temporary thing. The other thing I want to do is then look at the coat hooks, like the grab handles. And this being fiberglass is relatively sturdy. Now what I'm thinking is I've got this roll of metal here, which rather handily has holes already drilled into it, and they just about fit the grab handles. In fact, I've tested it up, so I'll do that. So I'm wondering if I can make a supporting bracket here behind. So if you hold on the grab handle, you end up pulling on that. You're not actually just pulling on the fiberglass, because I don't want to snap that, break it or anything like that, but you'd actually be pulling on the on the metal bracket. That's what I'm contemplating, although you might end up putting pressure around these points here. You can have a little think about that, because it'd be really sweet if I could get grab handles mounted on the boot on the roof. And that'd be one way of doing it. I mean, ideally there'd be a bracket there on the car and a bracket there on the car, but that's not where they're placed. But what I'm going to do first though is I've got holes there ready drilled. I mean, I've been told that these don't quite line up, but with the car, but we shall see. I'm going to put little holes in there. But I think the first thing to do though is get a cut down here, trim off excess, and peel back and then tape up. That'll get this sorted. Then I might take it into the car and just see how these line up with what's inside the car. Right, so got my Stanley knife, and I'm just basically cutting my way along and giving myself plenty of excess material, because you can't add it back again once it's been cut away. So I'm not going to do this one-handed. This was a very expensive piece of purchase. So yeah, I'll show you in a moment what it looks like. That's one sunroof aperture that has been cut open, so that's pretty nice. If I look at the other side, again, I don't look too bad at all. Next thing will now be to get some scissors, I think, and then cut towards the extremities, and I can start folding over. And there we have one temporarily glued sunroof aperture. I know it's not pretty, but it's not supposed to be. This is releasable, so I should either be able to prise off or pull off the glue. If not, I can still cut the ends of the trim and then free it off, and then I should be in a position to then glue it onto the sunroof tray. But as I say, I want to get bits of the car resprayed. That might include that rust patch that's inside the roof. So this is going to be detachable for now, and if I glue it to the tray, I ain't going to be able to detach it. Now, what's next? That's going to dry. I'm going to go out to the car. I'm going to look at the bracket situation. Because whilst I had to go and get some glue. So I've gone and bought zillions of different fixings. And I think I already said this, didn't I? But again, I've been playing around a bit more with this metal strip. I can affix these, put that on the back. And somehow, amongst all this, I'm hoping, because like, if this is mounted centrally, and you end up pulling on this, you won't be pulling on the head lining. It should be pivoted in the middle almost, and then pulling back on, sort of pulling back on this metal strip, especially if I was to then fasten these together and increase the strength, hammer that down in the process, or just cut it. So I'm going to go up to the car now. I'm going to investigate and see where in relation these are. So the thing about this metal strip as well, I was thinking, well, you can actually sort of pinch it over. You could lengthen it or contract it by sort of bending it in place, or something like that. Anyway, it's a plan. I'm going to see if I can make it work. So maybe you can see where I'm going with this. So using the fixings that are in the car, this fits quite well. Obviously, this fixing here is going to put a lot of stress on the left hand side, but what I was thinking of was, because of the nice nature of this springy metal, is I could cut a piece in here, loop it round to the back, and I've got a runner upon which I could then mount the hand grab. Because what I don't want to do is mount it to this, and of course when you're pulling on it, you're just pulling against that. It's got to be rigid and screwed in somehow. So that's not bad. I'm gonna take that off. I'm gonna see how that works with that one there. But yeah, I think actually I could get some further reinforcement by using the sunroof bits there. Assuming that will go through that hole there. It may not. But next test coming up. Okay, so this doesn't fit, but there's nothing to stop me drilling that out further, so I can do that for sure. Yeah, not bad. When I was here as well, I was just thinking, wouldn't it have been easier if that panel there was removable? When I was editing my videos, and I've been writing an article for the club magazine, if that panel had been removable, probably would have gained back access to the back of the sunroof panel, and then been able to change the headlining in situ, but never mind. Okay, so I think I need the headlining at this point, and I'm going to see where the grab handles would fit in relation to that mounting there. I've offered up the headlining, and I can find that is indeed the left hand point for one of the grab handles, and then that is the right hand point for one of the grab handles, so it's not in the middle. The grab handle's actually quite far recessed, which is okay. So my bracket, if I was to, well, I don't even think I've got to make a bracket, because it'll screw in there, no problem. So if I made another bracket that perhaps attached to this and came out, and I could screw the other grab handle into that could be a potential. So that's something I'm going to look into. Can I extend this? I then have to create some play, or on how much travel these have got, whether I could fashion something there. I don't really want to use that hole, so I don't really want to. I don't know, I might withdraw one of these screws and see how deep it is, and let's see if I could get a plate on there. I don't want it to protrude too much. Let's see. Okay, so that goes into a captive thread, and there's a wee bit of play that I'm going to have. I could take a millimetre off that, get a bracket in. So here's the start of an idea, I think. So I've snipped the edge of that, so that's going to go in. So that's nice, which then gives me something to mount onto. And I can put, I need a longitudinal piece to get across. I'm also going to need a nut on the back of it for the screw to go into. So that'll be the next thing to look into. How am I going to make almost like a return on that once that's in place? I spent a phenomenal amount of time faffing about with this. I ended up taking a break in the end. I found that these are M5 bolts. They fit into that quite nicely. I was trying screws, thinking that they would go in, but they just didn't grip. And I mean, it proves the point that actually that holds on quite nicely, but you know, that needs a fixing. And I guess making that whatever is going to achieve that. Of course, the other problem is though, is like when I've got the headlining on, really that needs to screw into something behind it. I mean, I could use little nuts and get those, but I'm gonna have to get them so precisely aligned to the bracket. Not gonna be very much play involved there, but I do feel like having found the right bolt now, I'm making some progress. This is the final design that I've settled on for mounting this. The fixings here, I've got 2 washers on them. A small washer that's inset and a big washer that's on the outside. That then clears the back of the fixing. That's quite good. And then over here, I've used this, you know, sort of weird Meccano-y thing that I've got to bolt onto this fixing here, and then onto the grab handle, which is reasonably sturdy. And the screw itself, I don't know if we can see, then actually goes all the way into the fixing. It just sort of protrudes all the way through. So actually looking at that, I think there's probably under a little bit of tension there. So maybe I'll put some washers on there or something like that. But I think that's okay of a fashion. I mean, it's not like you're going to be grabbing them and, like, you know, holding on for dear life in my car. So I'm cool with that. When the car goes back together again, I mean, I'm going to trim this. I'll trim that, snip these. When the car goes together again, I'll have to get my finger under there for the headlining. Or I could glue the screw, screw the nut in place. Not screw the nut, glue the nut in place. So that would be a good idea. Anyway, so I spent far too long on this today. I can't believe pretty much a day's gone. This is, well, other than doing the headlining, you know, cutting a hole, it's about all I've achieved really. But never mind, I think I'm gonna make big progress tomorrow.